Good evening. My name's Ben Stykuc. I'm here for Asian Movie Pulse, and I have the privilege today of interviewing Neo Lee,
Yeah.
who not only is a upcoming talent in his own right as a filmmaker, but is a creative executive with Starlight Media. And so today I'm going to be talking about a very exciting project that's in the pipeline, Golden Empire, which will be starring someone who probably needs no introduction to followers of this site, one of the icons of action cinema, the great Donnie Yen.
Yes.
And so, Neo, to begin with, on that bit, I like to sort of try and do my homework where I possibly can. I see before you got into the industry on that, but you were a film critic as well,
Yes.
and you were so before transitioning into that movie industry on there, you did a lot of reviews, and Asian Movie Pulse has awful lots of reviews on there. So, as a critic yourself, what sort of films sort of were you drawn to, on what probably less so?
Well, I was very lucky when I was 22. I got my first job as editor in chief, and it's basically like IMDb equivalent in China. It's a pretty big platform, and I didn't know I was very powerful, but then until I remember that they invited me to like a pre-screening, and then all the film, and they were really respectful, and I realized that, oh my god, I'm the part of this I'm the part of this distribution plan, and my review is actually very important. um the reason why I love films. I mean, when I was a critic myself, just writing film reviews, and it was my hobby until it became my career. And I feel like, first of all, I shoulder a lot of responsibility. Like I feel like, oh my God, this is like really, really, really important. But my thing is like, I felt less and less um free to say what I really felt about the film. And the criticism became very commercial, and that was like I was losing freedom of my real opinions, to expressing of expression. So that was what I felt like a bird that can sing very beautiful songs, but I'm in a cage now. But I get money and fame, but the price is also very heavy. And eventually I evaluated I was really young, I was like only 23. And I was on the wave of internet, everything. It's just and almost like like right now I see a lot of young YouTubers, and they're opinion leaders, and they are very powerful. A lot of young people follow their opinions. So at that point I decided to learn something new, because I'm so young, should try something. And I was like very confident that I watched I watched also some bad films. I felt like, what, I can even do better than this. I was a little bit like yeah. And the truth is, make after I learned film like I came to LA, and I learned some like technique of filmmaking, and I realized that it's a teamwork, and it's sometimes I feel like I have more tolerance of bad films, and because I know that sometimes, especially right now in my position, you know when eventually the result of film is not only about the script, it's not only about the director or actor. There are a lot of invisible hands behind that lead to this, to cause this consequence. So yeah, that's what I learned. Yeah. Especially, yeah, I'm still learning every day, especially after I got this job. Yeah.
No, there's always films to watch and learn from, isn't there?
Yeah.
Uh, and so, who would you describe as your cinematic influences? What filmmakers inspired you?
It's, I mean, I love. There are a lot of great filmmakers for sure, but I don't know why I watched a movie called Babel by Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu. Um, it was a really interesting film. I watched it when I was maybe 12, and I watched it with my mom, and she was basically snoring next to me. But I love that film. I felt connected to that Japanese uh, girl's world. She is deaf, and she couldn't express herself, and her relationship with her father, you know, and the structure of the film, everything was just like, wow. It's like, oh, the film can be told in this way. It's so crazy, you know. And I remember that he has he made Birdman before I left China. And I watched that movie, and I remembered he had an interview, and he asked the journalist a question. He said, "What's the most important frame in visual language?" That was such a weird. I mean, because it's so weird. It's like I feel like I felt every single shot is important. Every single frame is important, right? And he said, no, it's over the shoulder, because you're using this is actually it's about borrowing this person's point of view to reveal another people's point of view. And when you push in your camera, you build a connection of your audience and your leading character. That was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And even I'm talking to you right now, I'm quoting what he said. I even got goosebumps, you know what I'm saying? I was like, ooh, that's so magical. That really increased my interest of filmmaking for sure. That was a moment that really dragged me into that. And but I'm myself is a writer director as well. And especially after I moved to LA, I had a huge identity struggle as a writer who uses a second language, a foreign language to write. And I wasn't really confident at all until I watched Paul's new movie, Parasite. And I realized that my understanding about storytelling totally changed. I feel like nowadays, I feel a story is a cake. It's really like a cake. And the genre is that sugar. Everyone loves sugar. Everyone loves, and dark humor, all those dark humors, those those drag the universal audience. They lured audience into the movie, to this world. And then guess what? There's a twist in the midpoint. And so, you know what? It's actually not only a cake. It's actually about class. It actually is about the gap between rich and poor. It's like, wow, it's just really like I think it was a really like a life-changing moment. And that made me think a lot, that movie.
Thank you. And so, as a writer yourself, what stories attract you? And for you, what is the most important element when putting a script together?
I think it's about the core. The core of, I just told you, if whatever is a dumpling or a cake or taco, whatever, right? Just like our Golden Empire. It is actually probably like a lot of culture involved into this story. It has Mexican culture, it has American culture, Chinese culture, a lot of cultures, right, involved. But what's the singular message and point of view? And I think is about humanity. I think good films always dare to challenge us and challenge um, our understanding of humanity. It's always the exploration of complexity of humanity. And that is the biggest thriller, because we talk about thriller a lot. It's not about plot. I feel like, there's a moment I remember that made me think about, oh, right, Tusi. I think Tusi is a great example that the structure itself designed for character struggle and testing characters' flaw. And this structure is so unique, and and you can't just no one can just like, oh, copy paste or duplicate this structure and apply this to another movie. No, it has to be related to the character. His character struggle, because he has toxic masculinity. And the only way for him to understand his issue and make him transform is to make him become a woman and put him into that toxic working environment, so he will understand, oh, you know what? I was wrong. But that was a great movie and made me realize that structure and character struggle and the structure and character flaws should be connected. And the best structure is about testing characters singular and very specific flaw. And the message is universal. That's what I love about.
Okay. And so looking at your work that you've sort of created so far on that bit, and sort of a lot of the number of the themes, in particular around identity, and that leads us nicely onto the subject of Golden Empire, we're sort of talking about today. Can you tell us a little bit about the film and the project and how you came to be involved in it?
Well, I it's very my boss sent me the plot of the film, and I did a lot of research, and for me, the most interesting thing about this Chinese Mexican drug kingpin is his identity, like you said. How can I understand him? He reminds me a little bit about my father. I'm from my father had experienced, he born in 1959. He had experienced a lot of movements in China. And he born in an era that, it was with poverty, right? I think after I've grown up, my father still and the material life is getting way better than before, and he still has a hunger issue. He's always has anxiety about food, a lack of food, and I just like, this is what I understand, my understanding about our leading character, who loves collecting gold and cash in his basement, right? Like, it's about self-esteem, it's about insecurity. And what's beneath of this gold and this, the Vegas, gambling, money laundering, drug making, all of this, what's beneath is what I really curious about this character. Yeah, about this character. His identity is interesting. His immigration in that era, he's kind of my parents' age, and he learned. He learned, like everyone else is having a very stabilized job in the factory, but he started to learn English by himself. What's the motivation behind? Right? It's so determined and so bold. So this is like such a character. It's fascinating. So that is the starting of, like, it really dragged me to this. I told Peter, like, this is amazing. I love this character. And we had a lot of discussion about what's beneath of his fortune. And he's almost like a hoarder. Other people hoarding junks. He hoarded cash. And the gold, was this insecurity issue. How can we make it like in the screen, make audience understand his insecurity? Yeah.
It's a slight sort of variation on the narco theme, the Chinese Mexican kingpin. How did that idea come about?
It's like this is a real guy, right? He's like, we are just based on the true story. Our company always have a, it's we were the financer of Crazy Rich Asians, and this is our company's mission. We want to provide some more complicated heroes, but we also feel like, what about? I think right now is the time to create some interesting anti-heroes, Asian anti-heroes. I do think that I have pitched this story to a lot of successful producers and writers. I remember that once a very successful writer responded that this is just another Godfather story or something like that. I was like, maybe, but now is the era not about what it is, it's about how it is. And I think Asian anti-hero really like is a great representation. To be honest, I'm because I'm audience, I'm a very audience in young generation. I represent the young generation audience, right? And every time when I see like, for example, Sandra Oh or those other Asian stars, leading actors, I feel like I feel closer to these characters. Because never underestimate the power of representation. And I think this character's complexity is very, 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 very interesting. That made us want to tell his story. And he struggles. He's also, I think people, this is the audience would really like him because he's not only like a drug, like you said, drug kingpin, but he's also a father. He's also a husband. He's also a hustler. He's also an he also the first generation immigrant. All these things, in this one character that make us feel like, wow, it's just so, this character is so, this universe is so so interesting, want us to dive into it immediately. And to be honest, I mean, we have a rule that, like there are so many ideas every day, right, on like pitch decks, whatever. But if this story stick in your head all the time, it means you need to do this. You need to do this. And like I mentioned earlier, I think he has a lot of similarity with my father. Not the drug kingpin part, but the insecurity part. I feel like I found the bridge to understand, to access his heart, to hear, his secrets and his identity. That's the reason why. Yeah, I feel like one is representation, another one is this character. Just you have to tell the story. It's so interesting.
Okay. And I see that Donnie Yen was originally sort of brought on board the project after I think one of the producers watched him in Chasing the Dragon, about the story about Crippled Ho in Hong Kong and the gangster in the 70s. Have you had to sort of watch any of Donnie Yen's work to sort of think about how to sort of create the character around Donnie Yen, or are you trying to sort of just keep the character in your own mind?
Donnie Yen is he he's basically so famous in our, like my mom loves him, my father loves him, I love him, my grandmother also loves him. He was a kung fu star, but then I think he showed his acting talent in IP Man. I remember when I watched IP Man, I was like, oh my god, this is so good. Like the range is very, I think his range is very wide. He can really play different, different type of characters. Just absolutely acting like his acting talent really proved in that movie. So that movie really was one of my favorite kung fu movies. Yeah, so I think IP Man was uh, is one of the reference, but also like you said, like Chasing Dragon is another very important film in his career as well. Like is in 2017, this movie like he's it's not only about kung fu, but also he really dive into this character and show us a very different Donnie Yen. That's another, because normally people would expect him as like, a kung fu star, like but that character really has three dimensions, is a real three-dimensional character. And to be honest, his interpretation was very authentic, and I really bought his performance, and that was such an interesting story. And like I said, he's not only a successful actor, but also a very successful storyteller and a producer as well. So Donnie Yen is not only the leading actor in this project, but also the producer. And his notes, when we're developing this concept and this project, he also gave a lot of valuable notes about characterization, also the storytelling. Yeah, he gave a lot of important direction of, and he showed his understanding of the characters. And I do believe that is sometimes when the actor is also the producer of the project, and they really it really helped and advance the process of creativity and development, because they can put a lot of thoughts into the characters, and we all know that character actually is way more important than any other plots. If the character, because plot should be designed based on the character.
And for fans of Donnie Yen, on that, but what can they expect from Golden Empire?
First of all, I think Golden Empire, like I said, it's a really interesting cake, right? We make sure that it's a thriller. It has action, and thriller, and mysteries, and we're gonna expect that we're gonna witness this character go up, right? He get more and more, collect more and more fortune, and then we will like him because he has dark humor. It's like funny, and but also the danger is always beneath. And then we will witness this character get involved into more and more struggles internally and externally. And my goal, or our goal, is to make sure that characterization is unique. The world is unique. We want to make a movie that shows great representation of immigrants. And we want to also make sure that we also need to balance the true story and fictionization, right? It's a fictionization. And we want to, I think the key of making this character work is finding his vulnerability. We don't want to make a character who is like we have seen so many, right? Like drug movies and TV shows, and I want to make sure that Donnie Yen's this character is a real human who has real struggles. Yeah.
It sounds a really exciting project. I'm really looking forward to watching it when it comes out on that bit. The one last question on there for yourself on that. What's next for Neo after this?
Well, so we have a lot of projects are developing right now that we actually are developing more and a lot of stories about immigration, about Asian representations. Yeah, right now my position is in charge of the development, and Starlight was a very successful financer before, and we're actually more and more transitioning to creating content, the content creator. I think we also started the Stars Collective program, and we have gathered a lot of creative young generation filmmakers, and we want to work with them. It's not like a relationship with us, like something first look or something. It's more like it's like a platform. I think my understanding about Stars Collective is it's a platform. Talented storytellers come to this playground. They meet each other, they make friends, they make interesting contents. So a lot of times when filmmakers join Stars Collective, and of course I will send them a guidebook as what this about, but I always tell them the rules is no rules. It's like I wish you can have fun, and we are also I think by the end of the day, it's like we're creators, we're storytellers, we are we're excited about great stories, and that's the reason why we get together, get along, so yeah, I'm my understanding of my role and my mission is to create a very healthy channel between the producers and those content creators. I want them have fun. I want them be creative, because I do understand that a lot of times that we talk about budget, we talk about this, the package. There's a lot of the rules and agency, a lot of things. But I always try to provide like a creative environment for the creators. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Well, just to say Neo, thank you for today. That has been absolutely fascinating to learn about your journey and also about Golden Empire. I hope it is a tremendous success. Hopefully you'll come back to talk to us about it later on as well, and its release is pending. But thank you ever so much for agreeing to chat to us today.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you.
Thank you.